Well, I'm joined now by Barak, Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, or RUSI. This is a formidable alliance. How surprising is it that the US, it's been calling for the support of these Arab nations, but we've also got potential cooperation with Iran and previous foes now coming on board to take on IS, it seems.
It's a huge coup that the United States has managed to rally a whole number of Sunni allies to counter ISIS. In 2007, having this Sunni alliance was essential in Petraeus's counter-insurgency strategy. Suddenly, the Sunni on the ground, they felt reassured that US presence would be maintained to undermine and counter al-Qaeda. Today, it's very important that we maintain that support of the Sunnis, and there is a danger that the Iranian membership of the alliance could perhaps undermine that Sunni support in the medium to long term.
We saw a statement yesterday, didn't we, saying that the Saudi and Iranians, there has been some sort of discussion. And also, what about the actual role of these Arab Sunni states? Do we know precisely what they're doing? I mean, we heard from the Jordanian spokesman. What about the others?
Look, currently we don't know exactly the role that these Arab countries have forged for themselves, but we need to understand that these Arab states are increasingly willing to take the initiative. Just the other month, the UAE took the initiative in Libya, and the very fact that America hadn't been so involved in the region, had to a degree withdrawn from the region, that demonstrated an increasing willingness on the part of Gulf states to intervene.
But are the Gulf states, you know, fairly accused of facing at least, you know, two directions at the same time? Because there've been a lot of, you know, speculative reports that at least individuals within countries like Qatar and Saudi are funding, supporting, Turkey also, of course, you know, supporting IS for their own political cause. And now, of course, they're being involved in this alliance. But there are different elements at play within the countries involved.
You're 100% right, and I think that as part of this alliance, the United States is going to have to calibrate its approach and coordinate very closely with Gulf allies in order that there won't be a duplicitous role, on one hand to counter the ISIS fighters on the ground, and on the other hand to allow individuals from those regimes to fund them.
I mean, what does it say, actually, that we see this huge apparent coalition, even a statement from Russia yesterday saying potentially they might cooperate in some way? What does it say about the perceived threat of jihadist groups like IS?
Look, IS is clearly targeting Gulf regimes as well. They want to undermine Gulf monarchies. They perceive them as illegitimate. So when you look at the UAE and when you look at Saudi Arabia, they share exactly the same strategic interests as the United States. The problem that the United States has is it's only beginning to formulate a strategy in that it's targeting ISIS members in Iraq and Syria. And it's very key that it targets Syria because 2/3 of ISIS fighters are based in Syria.
What about we're seeing strikes now, the missile strikes. We know, sadly, we're going to see images of civilian casualties. When pictures of children and women who are innocently killed come in Muslim countries on the television sets, how are those countries going to still maintain support for this military attack?
Well, these Gulf states are going to have to appreciate the fact that either, you know, war is tragic and you do have collateral damage, you do have civilian casualties, and that is part of war and it's tragic. And the choice that they face is to avoid that and in turn to allow ISIS to spread its tentacles and effectively target the Gulf regimes. The spread that ISIS has had over the last couple of months has been exponential due to their funding capability. It's not only the fact that you've got wealthy Gulf individuals that are funding ISIS, you have...
So why hasn't Saudi and Qatar been worried about the threat to their own instability right at the beginning?
They have been worried about it, but they wanted American leadership. The real question you should be asking is why did it take America so long to actually upshore sort of pro-Western moderate Syrian opposition members? Why did it allow better funding to go to the radical ones, allowing them to be a more appealing alternative for Islamists. The problem that America has is it doesn't have a rollback strategy for ISIS. While it's targeting them using air power alone, what's going to say that ISIS can't regain the initiative, or the Assad regime can regain the initiative, or
what comes even if they're
other
successful,
Islamists?
what comes afterwards? Yes.
And you're going to need to have greater ground troops in order to achieve that.
There are so many questions, aren't there, about how long this all plays out for. Barak, Sonia, many thanks indeed.
Thank you.